Hello Aquarius, welcome to your tarot reading here on Dove and Serpent Tarot. This is a timeless reading, which means whenever you happen to be watching this reading was meant to find you. Please hit the like button, leave a comment, and consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. Now this is going to be a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember that the most important part of any tarot reading, Aquarius, is you. And here is a Knight of Wands. Let's get into it. That's going to be our starting point. We're going to do our Dove and Serpent spread. And as I lay these cards out, wow, these are very nice. Very nice. I'd also like to offer, if there's anything you would like me to pray over or meditate upon or send positive energy toward, please let me know in the comments. I read every comment, okay? Finishing off with the Path of the Serpent here. See what else. Oh, I knew it was going to be all fire. I knew it was going to be all fire over here. That is amazing. This is really... This is quite a unique spread right now. We're going to do a mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. I almost wonder if this is going to be more fire, but we won't find out until the very end of the reading. We're going to leave that card right over there. We'll put the frog on top. We're not going to look at it until the end, and hopefully that will tie everything together and give us the confirmation that we need, towards the end of the reading. Okay, so you do have to stick around. Now, we've got fire. Fire. Fire, 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 fire. So much fire. We've got some major arcana, too. We've got a couple of those. We've got a little bit of earth, a little bit of air. The one thing right away that I see is kind of odd is the water energy. There are no small cards. There are no pip cards. There are no water court cards. It's just this Hanged Man. And the Hanged Man is every aspect of water wrapped into one, right? The positive aspects and the negative aspects of water. All here beneath the surface in the form of this Hanged Man, okay? But as we're probably going to end with fire, we'll begin with fire. And this is the Knight of Wands. Now, it could be that there is a fire sign person in your life that is... in some way you're having some kind of a relationship with them. It may be motivational, it may be a partnership in business or something like that. I think that's kind of beside the point right now. I'm sure you have a lot of people that you're working with in whatever career field you're in, whatever project, whatever organization you're involved with. Now, I'll tell you right away that I feel like you are working toward, establishing some kind of a community organization or a charity or a business perhaps, but something that's geared towards helping people, okay? It may not be a business, like a for-profit kind of thing. It might be less of an official organization and just kind of a group that you're forming. But however it kind of manifests, it's aimed at helping other people. Okay, in like a vital, energetic, maybe a spiritual kind of way. Okay, all of this fire energy, and we have this Hierophant here in the future. So we'll get into that. But first, the Knight of Wands. I feel like this is your really intense ambition. Aquarius, I don't think we usually have this much fire energy for you. I feel like you're really geared toward action and enthusiasm and ambition, excitement. I feel like things are really heating up for you, And this really is kind of a, maybe a once in a lifetime kind of spread for Aquarius, It's really on fire right now. And I think this is the perfect time for you to channel all of this fire energy into this project, into this work, into this business or organization that you're involved with. Now, it could be kind of a solo project, right? Maybe you are just kind of working on things by yourself. Ultimately, it is geared toward helping other people, right? Or in some way, it's giving back to the world, right? And you could literally be an artist who is, something kind of solitary you're creating, and then you're giving it to the world, right? Something along those lines. Like I said, we'll get into that Hierophant energy in just a minute. But I love this Knight of Wands because this is such intense action. This is no thought because we've already done the thinking. This is no feels because we've already done the feeling, right? This is no hesitation because we've already made up our minds. We've already kind of wrestled with things. And we see all of that around us, right? We see the air, we see this fire back here, we see the water beneath us. We've already done all of this kind of preparation. And what we see right now, the focus right this minute, is the Three of Pentacles and this Knight of Wands. So this is all action geared toward this earth. I always love to find fire and earth kind of paired up together, right? Because this is the creative will, the energy, going straight to the physical plane. We don't need to worry about the air going by. We don't need to worry about the water that's kind of swishing around inside of us because we've already taken care of those. We've already addressed those issues. Now we can take fire and manifest it. And that, I think, is the direct, it's like it's a straight line from A to B, right? Because you've already done the air and the water work. And now we can just push this fire straight through, manifest, okay? So the Three of Discs is you putting all of this fire energy into, basically getting this thing off the ground, getting it going, getting it started. I like to look at the Three of Discs or Pentacles as kind of like one of those drones, that has the fans spinning underneath it. If all of these fans, they kind of look like fans, right? If all of those fans are spinning at the same speed, this thing's going to lift off perfectly, right? If something's not configured properly, something's a little faster, a little slower, something isn't working as it should, if there's a lack of cooperation and harmony between these three elements, the three fans, this thing's just going to flop over and probably break, right? So while you have all of this fire energy, this ambition, this is just like you're just chomping at the bit. You're ready to go, right? As soon as you see the green light, you're just bursting forth with all of this creative energy. But we have to administer it properly, right? I almost wish we'd see the Emperor card here somewhere to kind of show us that we have that kind of that administration kind of thing, or the control, the direction, right? Because we have to make sure that every aspect of this project, this work, this creation, this whatever you're doing, every aspect of it is given the proper amount of your fire, so this thing can lift off properly, And this is also you putting the commitment, the mind, the body, the soul have to be all committed kind of equally to this project, right? If you're doing it, if you're putting all your energy into the physical, but your mind is elsewhere or your heart is really elsewhere, it's not going to work. One of these fans is not going to be spinning fast enough and things going to flop over. We don't want that. So there needs to be kind of due proportion in this energy and what you're putting forth. You can't put all of your focus into one aspect of it and neglect the other elements of it, right? Either internally with your heart, your mind, or externally with, let's say the business side of it or the creative side or the financial side, getting the resources, the materials, the planning stages, all of these different kind of facets of the work that you're doing need equal attention, okay? Because this Knight of Wands, sometimes we don't know whether we are in charge or whether that horse is, excuse me, as I get horse, we're talking about the horse. We don't know if we are in charge and in control or if we're just kind of being led away by the power, by the horsepower, right? Here I go with the automotive analogies. If you have a car that has a lot of horsepower, you hit the gas, so you might not be in control. If you're not used to that much horsepower, that vehicle could get away from you, right? Same thing with this. We don't know if we are in control or if that horse has just kind of run away with us on its back, right? So this is about kind of controlling that energy, harnessing it, taking the reins, right? Not restricting it, not pulling it back, not like telling it to slow down, but making sure that we can maneuver with that energy, right? And that's the key for what you're doing right this moment. Now, what we see in the recent past was exactly that, the Five of Wands. This was you, I think, really learning how to control this energy, okay? So the first thing that you did really was learn how to ride the horse, right? Learn how to control the reins. Learn how to handle that much horsepower, right? So maybe you went to a practice track or something, and you would open this thing up, and you would make sure that you were confident and comfortable maneuvering, controlling all of that power at the wheels, right? Make sure that you know how to ride a horse that has this much speed, this much power, this much kind of wildness about them, you know? And so I think that probably in maybe the last 5 years of your life, you might have had instances where you had this kind of fiery energy and it just kind of got away from you. You burned yourself out. You kind of went in the wrong direction. You lost control of the project or the situation or the company, the organization, whatever it was. So I feel like through those kind of cycles, the patterns of those attempts, perhaps, I think you've learned how to control this energy, right? And that's why now, today, right now, you have this behind you. This is the kind of trial and error. This was you learning how to control the horse. This is you learning how to be comfortable and confident, handling that much horsepower, maneuvering a vehicle that had that much to it, right? I don't know if you prefer the equine analogy or the automotive analogy, but there you go. What we see already above you is this air energy. See, this is very cool. If you look at the overhead, you can see that we have water, fire, air, and then the Hierophant is earth. That card rules Taurus. Taurus is earth. We have the Three of Discs. That's earth. So we have a perfectly balanced, we even have major arcanas, we have the spiritual, the fifth element. We have a perfectly balanced path of the dove here. This is quite rare. This is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime configuration. And then with all the fire over here, I think this is once in a lifetime. I think it's all been leading up to this for you. And this is that once-in-a-lifetime moment, right? There is this window of opportunity right now where all of this is happening, okay? So we have the air, the fire, the water, the earth, and spirit. And over here, we've got all fire. Fire is also spirit. The fire element kind of does double duty, right? It's fire, but it's also spirit. So what I was saying, we have the Ace of Swords here at the top of the path of the dove. And this was you getting a clear vision of what you're doing, right? This ace represents the 10 all the way up to the 2 of swords, right? The unity here, this contains all of the other swords cards. But what we see is this unity. So I think that you've already explored every angle of this. You've already looked at every detail. You've tweaked your plan, you've revised it, you have reached a level of clarity, of confidence, of certainty about what you're doing and how you're doing it, that now you have a firm grip on this Ace of Swords. This is your resolve. This is your will. This is the result of probably years of tinkering with this plan, of revising it, of making sure that it is absolutely flawless and perfect, exactly the way you want it. Okay? And now this is at the top of the path of the dove, right? This is the sword that you are holding as you're kind of rushing off on this horse, right? And this is such an enlightened state because now you're beyond thought. You have surpassed the need to really to think over much about what you're doing, right? And now it just kind of flows with you. Now you have all of the thought, all of the organization, all of the planning, all of the tinkering. It's all consolidated now into one enlightened state of clarity, of certainty, right? And this is what you're carrying with you, but you don't want to lose this. In all of this really fast and all of this crazy horsepower, this knight doesn't want to drop their sword. You drop your sword and you kind of forget what you're doing, how you're supposed to be doing it. That's one example of how this much horsepower could lead to disaster if you don't have a firm grip on the wheel or on the reins. You don't want to drop that sword, okay? Because this is your clarity. This is you really knowing which direction you're going, how to get there with absolute certainty. So you don't have to slow down, hit the brakes, pull back on the reins, I guess. I don't know. I've never ridden a horse, if you can believe that. And then figure out where you're going. You won't have to stop, get out your map, get out your compass, figure things out again, do the math and the trigonometry and all that complicated stuff. Because you've got your sword, you know where you're going. So you don't want to lose hold of that. And then down beneath everything, we've got the Hanged Man. So you've done all of the inner kind of depth psychology work about what you're doing. You kind of, this is kind of the why you're doing what you're doing, right? This is your need to understand. This is your need to connect with people, right? This is your need to, while all of this fire and air is showing that you are like a staunch individualist, right? You're a very unique soul. You are uniquely you. There's still this underlying current of wanting to connect, wanting to be part of the collective, right? Wanting to have this kind of, this very deep connection with the universe, right? To feel like we're all one, to kind of immerse ourselves or lose ourselves in the kind of waters of consciousness, right? It's kind of like you are a droplet of water in this vast ocean. And so, to me, this Hanged Man being beneath the surface is an underlying mystical striving for you, right? And I think that's what's kind of driving the work that you're doing. It's why we're pointed at this Hierophant card, okay? Because there's this underlying desire in you, or this underlying striving or yearning even, for you to feel the sense of unity, you know, to feel like we are all one universe, one world, one humanity, one community, right? So again, as much as you are a very unique individual, we also have this desire to be part of the unity, right? To kind of to blend in, at least temporarily, to kind of lose self-consciousness as we are participating in the whole. You know, lose our little self-consciousness in our consciousness of the self with the big S, right? The cosmic self. So I feel like this is kind of a mystical bent for you, you know? And I feel like this was, again, this is something that I think you've explored. I think you have had a very rich spiritual or mystical life. You may not be so focused on it now because this is beneath everything, and what we see on top is all of this active fire, the air, and then, you know, the practical kind of manifesting. So it could be that this water is kind of down in the unconscious a little bit. Maybe you're not so focused on your spiritual or your mystical practices per se. Maybe not outwardly. It's still there. It's still affecting you. It's still part of who you are. But it may be that some of the external practices and rituals may have slowed down a little bit. You know what I mean? And that's perfectly fine because you have a basis of this. You have a foundation of this. And I think part of this too is your willingness to make sacrifices for what you believe in, right? Because again, this is underneath the surface. So this is like what is central, what is core, what is underneath all of you, and what is underneath all of this other energy of you. That's what you believe in. And that's what you're willing to sacrifice for. That's what you're willing to work this hard to do, right? Whatever this thing is, I don't know precisely what it is, but I know that you have a very intense love for it, for whatever you're doing, and for people in general, for humanity, for your community locally, but your community also globally and cosmically, the cosmic community, right? So I think the work you're doing is very important, I think is kind of the summary here. It's very meaningful to you. It's very important to the rest of us, and thus very meaningful to the rest of us as well. So it's almost like this card is prompting us all to say thank you for what you're doing. You know, thank you for doing this work and for being so committed, and for whichever way and however this is going to be of service to everyone. Now, here's that Hierophant card. This, I think, is your intention to complete this work for the benefit of your friends, family, your local neighborhood, community, your country, your world, your universe. Okay? So it doesn't really matter what you're doing. It could literally be any work that you're doing. The intention behind it is that you want other people to experience it. You want other people to see it, right? So that maybe they can draw something from it, whether they draw some inspiration, whether they draw support, whether they feel heard, they feel seen. In some way, it's to help others. And that may not be the overt purpose of what you're doing. It's an underlying vibe there, that this is meant for everyone. This is meant to help people. It could be literally that you're starting a charity or a community organization. It could be that you're working on getting a degree in nursing or in healthcare, some way, medicine, doctor, chiropractor, I don't know. Anything of that nature. And that's more overt, obviously. If you're entering into the healthcare field, that's pretty overtly, to help people, right? And if this is something medical, I'm not too strong on it being a healthcare thing. It might be. If it is, it definitely vibes with this Hanged Man, because I think people in the healthcare industry usually have to make quite significant sacrifices for their craft, for their art, for their work, right? Long hours, right? Not a lot of appreciation, a lot of difficult people, and so forth, right? So I think there's a lot of sacrifice there for anyone in the healthcare field. Now, I was an EMT for a brief time. I worked in the ER for a brief time. Honestly, I couldn't keep up with the pace of that industry. It's so intense, and there are a lot of sacrifices that need to be made in order for someone to really thrive in that industry. So it could be that's where you're headed, okay? But this could be something more subtle. It could be that you are an artist of a different kind, and or an organizer, something along those lines. But the Hierophant here is telling me that you are working on something that is meant to be shared, right? That is meant for other people to witness or experience and draw what from it they can, whether it's, healthcare, that's pretty obvious, or whether it's something more subtle, like just some encouragement, just some compassion, just some inspiration or support, or for other people to see what you're doing and to realize that they're not alone, that you are out there for the rest of us, etc. And I don't know the details. If you want to share them, I think that would be lovely. I'm sure everyone here would be very interested in kind of comparing what our work is, what our projects are. You don't have to get specific or personal or anything. But that brings us over to the path of the serpent now and all of this fire energy. First thing we see is the Ace of Wands. Now this is kind of like the Ace of Swords. It is the unity. It is the certainty. It is the absence of hesitation. Okay? It is the absence of hesitation. It's the absence of needing to stop to think about things, about needing to stop and kind of ask yourself, why am I doing this? It's the absence of that. It's the absence of questioning or doubting or second guessing or needing to stop and ask for directions or needing to stop and get some motivation. You're not lacking in motivation. Okay? And that's the Ace of Wands. Full of motivation, full of direction and drive and ambition. You're very fired up. You're very enthusiastic about this. You know? And with all of this fiery energy, we are reminded with the next card, this Art or Temperance card, that we need to periodically at least cool ourselves down. You need to hydrate. This card kind of, right now, it's kind of about hydrating, I think. Both spiritually and physically, you have to stay hydrated. Because all of this fiery energy, while you do have a firm grip on the reins, you're in control of this energy, you're still going to eventually become exhausted, become parched, and you're gonna get dehydrated. So we need to focus on the self-care. We need to focus on perhaps reconnecting a little bit with this water energy down below, with this Hanged Man, to remember just kind of remember or to re-experience our connection with the divine, with spirit. Not because we need motivation or we need to remember why we're doing this, but just to re-experience that connection, right? To nourish that spiritual connection, that mystical bent that you have, needs to be reactivated a little bit. Because I think that's how you really can continue with this kind of energy. Now, the Knight of Wands is holding on to that ace. I said you were holding on to the sword too. Well, guess what? In your other hand, you've got the Ace of Wands. So you've got both of these. Or in fact, maybe it's kind of Game of Thrones style. Maybe the sword is on fire. Maybe it is a flaming sword, right? So you're holding them both in kind of one focus, one purpose, one will, one direction, not the band, one intent. Right. And in order to sustain that, I think there needs to be self-care, right? You've got to know when to kind of stop for the night and rest, drink a bottle of water. And I think you also have to try to foster this connection or strengthen this connection with the divine, with spirit. Okay. I think that's how we progress. And the Art or Temperance card, I think, is showing that there needs to be a little bit more balance, because all of this fire energy, we can't just have a spread that is just all fire like this. We need a little bit of water to kind of temper it, right? And hence the Temperance card, showing us that we need to have a little bit of balance. We can't run this horse 24/7, day and night, right? We have to stop, set up camp, and kind of rest. Right? It doesn't mean we're thinking twice. It doesn't mean we're hesitating or starting to falter. No, it just means we're being responsible. We're camping here for the night. We're going to sleep under the stars, and tomorrow we're going to wake up refreshed, and we're going to get right back on the horse, and we're going to keep going. You know. So the very next card then is the Queen of Wands. This is the watery aspect of fire. So we have water and fire now kind of blended into one being that now has the balance. This is the balance, the equilibrium in theory. This is the spiritual kind of instruction that we need to do this. And then the very next card is you doing that, right? This is fire and water together. This is fire on the outside, but the water on the inside. And if that water starts to dry up, well, we got to stop. We've got to replenish. We got to rehydrate. Both the spiritual waters and physically with hydration, with H2O. So the water kind of does a double duty as well. You know, it's also the physical waters, the support of life, right? The H2O. But it's also the spiritual experience, the spiritual connection, reflection, that divine experience, the mystical experience, which is the kind of spiritual support of spiritual life, you know, the kind of the spiritual H2O. So the Queen of Wands is you understanding that and paying attention to what's going on within you, spiritually and physically, so that you know when to kind of camp for the night, you know. You know when to take a little bit of a break and restore yourself. And that restoration is how you maintain your strength. This is the Nine of Wands. Key word is strength. And this is unshakable. Right, this is kind of what we're looking for. We're looking for a strength of purpose, an inner resolve, this unbreakable will, this unbreakable spirit, this unbreakable kind of physical strength and power as well, right? So this is the result. If the Art or Temperance card is the message, the instructions, this is you doing it, and then this card is the result of that. And this is how you will achieve your success, because you will be strengthening this connection, strengthening your body, strengthening your mind, strengthening your soul, your spirit, your connection to the divine, which brings us full circle, if I can get the card off the table, brings us full circle to this Three of Discs, where we said that you have to put equal focus, equal energy. You have to really take care of each of these fans so that this thing can kind of, you know, lift off properly. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. This is really nurturing and strengthening, solidifying, taking care of all of these connections so that this thing can really succeed. So whatever you're doing can get off the ground properly and you can achieve your success. And this is amazing. Like I said, this is a once-in-a-lifetime spread here. I think this is really fantastic. Let's go to the mystery card. Now, the frog did not tell me what this card was. I asked and asked, but I was denied. I think maybe it'll be some water energy. Maybe it'll be, well, it could be a Six of Cups. It could be a Four of Wands, which is not water, but it could be a Four of Wands. It could be that Emperor energy that we were looking for. No, it's actually the Eight. It's actually the Eight of Swords. I think maybe that there is a... right now or lately, maybe just a moment before you clicked on this video, you were having some mixed thoughts about what you're doing. Maybe some second guessing. Maybe you were having some doubts. Okay? So I think this, rather than being a bonus or a confirmation card, to me this feels like this is the past kind of, or this is like the basis. This is kind of like what was before all of this reading. This could be the reason why you clicked on this video, you know? And I'd like to know if that rings true for you. Right before you clicked on this, were you having some, like, you know, late, like a couple days or whatever, were you having doubts or second thoughts about this work, this project, whatever this is that you're doing? Because I feel like this reading was meant to alleviate this kind of, I mean, this figure here is just so tangled up in these thoughts. They feel like they can't move. They don't know which direction to go. It's almost like at every turn they could get cut by one of these swords, but all of these swords are also the means by which they can escape, by the way that they can free themselves from this predicament, right? That's kind of strange. It's a strange situation to be in. So hopefully this reading, some of these cards, if you can connect with this reading, if this is resonating with you, I think that it will help you to get out of this Eight of Swords energy. This confusion, this self-doubt, this questioning, this uncertainty that I'm kind of feeling came before all of this, right? So I'd like you to let me know if that happens to be true, okay? Anyway, we're going to do an extended. If you want to stick around for that, please click on the link that's right up here. You can have access to all of the extended readings for Aquarius, but for all of the other zodiac signs too, okay? I want to thank you for being here. This was your Timeless Tarot reading, here on Dove and Serpent Tarot. That's cold.